Good morning, 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time. This is liveweatherblogs.com meteorologist Bob Acanfrio with today's tropical update for Friday, September 24, 2010. Well, the big story today continues to be Tropical Storm Matthew, and where's Matthew going to go? That's the big question. Movement so far, this is as of 5 a.m. We'll have a new advisory at 8 a.m. coming out shortly here. 5 a.m. we have west at 16. Maximum sustained winds at 50, although looking at the satellite, that could be a little stronger now, maybe up to 55 or even 60. And then the center was 14.3 north, 79.8 west. This was as of 5 a.m. It's approximately 200 miles away from the Nicaragua-Honduras border right in here. So probably landfall about another 10 to 12 hours here. So sometime later this evening, we should have landfall right near the Nicaragua-Honduras border. Still has a little time to strengthen here. We're seeing a little bit of easterly shear this morning still. There's going to be slow strengthening, so we could get close to a hurricane before landfall this evening in this area. And then as you can see here, this is the official forecast track by the National Hurricane Center. And you see when the cone is this big, you can see how much uncertainty there is in this forecast in the long range. But as far as the next 2 to 3 days go and through the weekend, it's all going to be focusing on land interaction to see how strong or weak Matthew will be. The farther west this track, or the farther south and west this track goes, it'll move over more land and won't have time to strengthen. If it kind of gets up into the Bay of Honduras and slows down in this area, we could see a hurricane yet again, or maybe for the first time, depending on if it makes landfall here later today as a hurricane. So again, intensity is all going to depend on land interaction with this. It's very favorable environment in here for strengthening. So if it does get out into the water, yes, this will strengthen. If it stays over land, not. And then the official track by the National Hurricane Center kind of sits it over the Yucatan for days upon days. If this does pan out, this system will just spin down and weaken, and it's kind of a bad news, good news situation. Good news for the United States. Very bad news for this whole entire area here. I mean, this is still going to look like a very bad rain event for this area, and there could be life-threatening flash flooding. Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, the Yucatan. This whole area in here is going to see a lot of rainfall, and it's kind of going to get it mixed up in this monsoonal area of low pressure down here in Central America. So actually, this whole entire area, even Nicaragua, El Salvador, this whole area is going to see a lot of rainfall. So this actually could be the big story with this system in the end. We'll have to see. I'm going to show you the models here in a minute. We're still very uncertain in the long term where this is going, and even if it does survive. My initial thoughts yesterday, actually this was kind of my track yesterday before even Matthew even formed, where I was thinking somewhere in the Yucatan and a slowdown and then a move to the north slowly. That's still my thinking now. Now whether this move occurs farther east, farther west, that's where the uncertainty lies, and that's where the effects for the United States down the road. Again, if this affects the United States, we're not talking about at least a week away. So we still have plenty of time to watch this. And then Matthew may not be the one we're watching. We might have another system kind of form east of Matthew and try to move north. So that's going to be another thing to watch as well. But that's the uncertainty in the forecast here. Looking at the satellite view this morning, you can see easterly shear. So actually the center is to the east of this big ball of convection still. So it's kind of trying to strengthen. It's probably the 8 a.m. advisory might have it up to about 55. It still has a little chance to get to a hurricane before landfall. It's going to kind of be close. Probably still a tropical storm, but you never know. We still have about 10 to 12 hours. And then movement off to the west-northwest across this northeastern end of Nicaragua here, and then off maybe possibly back into the Bay of Honduras, depends. But we've actually seen the track a little farther south and west as high pressure has been just a little stronger to its north. So that's pushed this track. So that could have more land interaction with this system. And then looking at the bigger picture, the water vapor loop across the Caribbean, upper low here, not affecting our system. And we have high pressure kind of to its northwest, so that's creating a little bit of easterly shear just like this. If you look at microwave imagery, you can see most of the convection is on the western end. Eastern end is kind of void of any convection here. So here's where the center is, and everything's off to the west. That's an easterly sheared system right now. And again, looking at the shear, here's high pressure to its northwest, and that's creating about 15 knots of easterly shear over Matthew right now. Matthew will get into a better environment if it does get into this Bay of Honduras area here, east of Belize. If it could sit over in this area and stay off the coast, conditions are very ripe for pretty strong strengthening in here. So we'll have to again watch that, and land interaction will be a big part of that. And then looking at the bigger picture here, there's kind of going to be two ways. The National Hurricane Center had a great discussion this morning, and it also tells you about that monsoonal area low pressure over Central America and this trough. Kind of going to be two things kind of affecting this system, and possibly moving it northwest, east, wherever. This trough, again, is continuing to get carved out here. You kind of see it putting on the brakes here in the southern end as its high pressure is very stubborn to move out of here across the Gulf Coast states. But here's one piece of energy here. Then we're going to have another shortwave energy right here, you see, coming out of the western United States. And what's going to happen here, ridge is going to build over the Rockies here, and this is going to come up and over this Rockies ridge, and it's going to continue to carve out this trough here along the eastern United States. Now, will that trough be strong enough to bring Matthew north? Or does Matthew kind of, what the National Hurricane Center was going with, does Matthew get kind of caught up in that monsoonal area of low pressure over Central America and just kind of die out? Again, two possibilities there. Hard to say which one's going to be the winner right now. If you see the steering flow right now, you can see stubborn high pressure still here. And it still has the grips on here across the southeast. And that actually pushed Matthew a little farther south than west, and that's why we could see it interacting more with Nicaragua and Honduras here in the near term. And then here's our trough. Here's that first piece of energy, and then we'll have another one coming out of the west. And this will erode that high, slow but surely this weekend, and we'll see a trough kind of get carved out right in this area here. Okay, models. Early run models. This is Clark Evans' product. You could see a lot of them starting to kind of focus in on sitting over here near the Yucatan. Not as many moving north right now. Now, these are the early run models. I'll kind of show you the bigger global models here in a second. Storm-specific models, GFDL and HWRF, pretty much the same. Kind of keeping our system, doesn't push it so far west, and kind of keeps it over that Gulf of Honduras and then Western Caribbean here. And if this would be the case, this system could really get its act together right in here. And then will it come north after that? That's the big question. So pretty consistent with the GFDL HWRF on this track. Even the no gaps model has this same scenario, and the GFS to some extent as well. Canadian model, tough to see what's going to happen here. It's actually the Canadian and the Euro are almost the same. Does it have a separate system that forms here in the east, in the Caribbean, or is that part of Matthew, or is that part of this whole monsoonal low pressure area? It's really hard to say. Almost looks like a separate entity, and same thing with the Euro. Almost looks like a separate entity forms east of Matthew here. It's really hard to figure out what's going on there. But so that's what the Canadian model has, and again, same extent with the Euro. You can see looks like you kind of get mixed up in that big area of monsoonal low pressure here in Central America, and then it looks like another area forms kind of east of it, right in here, and then pushes it north. So again, a lot of uncertainty there, and we'll see if that actually pans out. I just still can't see these things really shooting that far north quickly. I'm not on board with that. I'm on board with that more. Let's sit over the Yucatan and then possibly move slowly north. I just don't see that happening right now. Pretty low confidence there. And then here's the, we'll put the GFS into motion. You can see kind of sits it over here. You can see that big monsoonal low pressure here just kind of sitting, and then pushes it farther east. And then boom, here we go. We're going to start moving north slowly here over western Cuba and then towards Florida. Again, possibility, could be. Never know. That's a little slower, and that could happen if it sneaks up north. I don't know how strong that trough's really going to be to really suck it that far north, east towards Florida. You know, I'm still in the range where it could sit over the Yucatan and maybe slowly come up this way. But again, we'll have to see how that all pans out in the long term. Colorado State here with the ensembles, and you can see the GFS ensembles, still a lot of them want to push this north, anywhere from about Mobile to Florida in the long term. Again, about 5 to 7 days out here, so still have a long way to go. Or does it die over the Yucatan? You know, I think those are really probably our three main focuses right now. Die over the Yucatan, bring incredible flooding rains to Central America and Yucatan, Belize, that whole area. One scenario. Another scenario is, does it slowly slip off the Yucatan and then move northward, affect somewhere from the central to eastern Gulf Coast? And a third one could be, hey, this could slip actually a little farther west and kind of get up into this Bay of Campeche area. That's still a possibility out there. I really can't take that one off the table yet as well. Or maybe even a fourth one. Can we have a fourth one? Maybe a separate storm forms east of Matthew and moves north again. All these possibilities. So as you can see, very if anybody tells you where they think the system's going in a week, hey, hats off to them, because it's very uncertain right now. Again, just if you're living along the Gulf Coast, again, keep a watch on it. We got plenty of time to watch this one, and we'll see what happens in the end with Matthew. And again, finally, the UK Met. This has been the farthest west model, as it wants to push it into the Bay of Campeche towards the early part of next week. Again, an outlier model right now. Probably kind of want to discount that one. But again, how can we discount anything right now? And looking at the bigger picture, again, not much out there right now. We're going to really... Cape Verde season's probably over. It's done. There's not much coming off Africa anymore. We're end of September. So, again, our focus is going to be west over the Caribbean here, closer to home. I'll still have Lisa, again, spinning out here. Weak tropical storm. Not going to do much to anybody there. But you can see we've now in this area now, as we get to the end of September, October, where our focus is going to be over the Caribbean. And we do see some of the models, the GFS, no gaps, developing another system here in the Caribbean in about a week. So, again, this is going to be our big focus now as we head towards October for development. That's it for my tropical update today. I will have another update, possibly shoot out a one tonight, maybe another update tonight on Matthew before landfall or after landfall. And then I will have another bigger update tomorrow morning. Have a good day. And stay tuned to liveweatherblogs.com for all your latest weather information.